Mr. Parker, Mr. Parker. Yeah, you want to know why? Why are these things happening? Why is there the pressure on the Bitcoin? Well, let's sort of draw a little line here. I'm going to draw a little line for you, and these lines are support and resistance. Okay, support and pardon me, resistance. That was disgusting, and these lines are basically previous price history, the highs and lows, and they form up patterns. The Japanese have been doing this for hundreds of years, yeah? Looking at these things, these charts that describe price action, hundreds of years. And now, since the 90s, since the work of a guy called Steve Neeson, they've become commonplace to work in conjunction with inverted commas or Western approaches. Now, what you have there is a sort of a symmetrical triangle, broadly symmetrical. Symmetrical triangles appear at times of indecision within the market. Yeah, indecision. They want people are looking for a decisive move. Now you want to know about the market cycle. Market cycle. Um, Things go up, they go down. But how do they go up and go down? That's a very, very good question. You've got to run up a cube. So, starting here, right, let's go back here. So, you've got to run up, a good run up phase. Right phase along there from down the bottom to the top. Let's get the pen out. From the bottom, from the bottom to the top. Yeah, to the top. Bottom, top. Yeah. And now that's clearly defined, uh, should be able to work it out. Now, what's that? I don't know. So it's come up, and it's come up along that line. Imagine that as a straight bloody line, yeah? Well, it seems as such, doesn't it? Straight line there. And that straight line from bottom to the top, say that. Just assume that's a bottom. And that start of the run up happens after an accumulation phase. An accumulation phase runs up. Halfway up, there is a reaccumulation phase. Saw shimmy there. That reaccumulation phase, it's found support, it's reached a high, it's retraced on itself, found that support. Zoom in on there, that's about 30k. 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, touches, notwithstanding there. So it's about half a dozen touches. And get back to keep that 30k in mind as a support zone. You see there. And then finish the reaccumulation phase, breaks out, and they get something called a distribution phase. Distribution phase up the top where the price settles itself. People will sell off before moving lower. And again, look at this. This was still a really bullish time to be in. Stocks were great. Interest rates were great. So the S&P 500 was doing great. All the stock markets were doing great. They'd all plummeted and run up like this. They'd exponentially run up. Prices were going through the roof, through the roof. The economy is good. Petrol prices, because the crude oil came down to about $20, $16 at its lowest. So people are happy with that. Um, Cost of metals and all that all sorts of things happen, and it's about the cost of living as well. So get onto that in a sec. Up again, you've got the run up, reaccumulation, and then a distribution phase, and we come down. We're about over here now, and we've come down. We think we found the bottom, yeah, and it's moving up, and that bottom is higher than these previous 30s. But there's room to fall back on that 30k price just yet. There's still room to fall back on there. But and just looking in the pattern here, so you got the pattern there. Probably might want to retest either here along that trend line there of the symmetrical triangle, Or you see down there, from there, oh, bollocks, fuck off. Um, Down there, yeah. From that 30k, run up there to what was that, 33, and again, what was that, 34.8, 34ish, and it keeps knocking on that 45, trying to move out. But what's happened is low volume. So these are all lots of little things, lots of little things. Um, Indicators. Let's get a volume indicator. VOL, volume. Simple histogram. There's lots of volume indicators out there. Just use the simplest one. And, it doesn't really portray it in the right way in the data, does it? Um, let's have a look. What have we got? What have we got? What have we got over time? May probably want to take it back. You see how those volume spikes coming up in the run up? In this phase here, in this run up phase, from about here onwards, low volume, yeah. And you got a sort of broad accumulation phase, haven't you? Through here. See how it's come up? Ready to go. Um, it's to absolute bottom there, wasn't it? When was that? March 20. Slightly different. And I'm surprised looking at that, the volumes are there. It doesn't really describe the volume terribly well, what we've actually been seeing on the date on these charts, maybe hourly chart. Um, Fairly, oh, it's increasing. Look at that. A little bit of something up today. Something's moving up, isn't it? What's that all about? That's really good. That's quite good. So it's flat, flat, flat. See how flat it is? Not much. The candles aren't up too much. Just flat. It's going sideways. It's neither going down nor up. It's just running sideways. It's a flat market. Flat. Markets with indecision have, that's a Bart Simpson pattern. You see it comes up, comes down. Bart Simpson pattern, synonymous with market indecision. Those happen when maybe an individual player, a collection of individual players working to try and get a price breakout, which, try and develop momentum by creating a pump and people jump in on that pump. But in this case, it just came down, didn't it? Yeah, it came down back to where it was, the same game there. Or there could be a collection of individuals, self-interested individuals working independently, buying in and then pumping, But I think that was a pump. That's a fixed pump, isn't it? People try. There's lots of bored people here. They're in despair, and that's another thing of a market cycle. So you're just waiting for things to come up. We're in an accumulation phase. In an accumulation phase comes before the rise. But the rise at the moment is tempered. It's been tempered. You've got this market intelligence going on. External factors, America, the federal bank printing money, just printing money. If you remember, like German post World War One history, the Weimar Republic, and all them, they all printed lots of money and created hyperinflation and devaluing. Um, People were buying less with more money. And also the America and in the UK, I think what was it 5.5% interest UK, and then interest inflationary rate, and then America 7.5, and rising here as well. Um, and those prices are going up, so there's less people can buy with their money, and that applies to businesses as well. Businesses and also other things like oils, raw materials, foodstuffs, everything like that. It's all going up. So the futures market, the big market where people buy and sell like a huge, many oil tankers worth of fuel, for instance, or like entire regions worth of wheat and corn, foodstuffs. Um, they go up as well. Those prices are pumping. Those prices, people buy less and more. And of course, world events can put war in particular pushes the price of things up. And we've seen like the breadbasket of Russia's stopped minerals getting out. They're a big bread maker, a wheat grower, corn grower. And they also make lots of minerals as well, metals, oils, gases, things that we've been relying on, and the whole world relies on. So that's it. And then you got the Soviet Ukraine. They produce like 40% of the world's neon, 20% of the world's neon, which is used in the production of microchips, which microchips are in everything nowadays. So that is a massive worry and concern. Production lines are slowing down because they can't get the parts to meet the demand for their stuff. So that is another putting brakes on things, indecision. All those things have a knock-on effect. If people can't sell stuff, they can't buy. People can't buy stuff, and the cycle, the money cycle, just stops. Indecision, and also, that Russia stuff there. Just the fact that it's a threat of nuclear war comes down. That puts the prices of things up. Really, really, really does. And so where there's prices. So people are withdrawing, and big buyers, institutional buyers, individuals all have to rein in on their spending on less risky stuff, and that definitely includes Bitcoin because Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is a highly risky asset to be involved with. So there is a lot less involved there. So the pressures are downward. Big people are making shorts. I've seen betting against the market, betting for Bitcoin to come down. That the amount of volume there in people shorting the market, betting for Bitcoin to come down has increased. What would happen if it comes down? Potentially, nothing is guaranteed, is it? Well, off. So why is that? Oh, I want that off. Why is this fucking thing not working properly when you're doing a thing, eh? Oh, there you go. And it was me who's not working properly. Now, what would happen, mate? What could potentially happen? So you got them patterns, support lines down there, yeah. There's different trends. Um, Pop it down to the 4 hour for a second. So that trend line there, and that's the previous, that 30K mark I told you about earlier. You see that big solid line there? That's where it could come down there. It could come down to retest there. I'm expecting personally, I wouldn't be surprised. Always look at the downside and the upside. Yeah, like I say, it's even Stevens, isn't it? See through there, and that pattern there has had diamond formations and bar formations, which it would be volatile, but in a straight line because the market is indecisive. It's indecisive where it goes up, whether it goes down. The market is waiting what to do, whether to short, get out, buy in, everything else. But this is an area of accumulation where people do start buying. It's a herald of what happens in the future. So previous run, but this one's a bit different because all the downward pressures, what happens, come down to these support levels. If it does break down, it might come down to initially 34, could come down to a 33, and then you've got another pattern in there. Yeah, it might come down, test that 30, 33. Coming up, having a look in the daily. So along there, 30K along there, yeah, and that's where it might go. Um, you got a bit of an ascending. That is potentially a bull flag. What is a bull flag? Bull flag, yeah, potentially, maybe. Is it a bull flag? Or what? Have a look there. See how flat that is. If it does come down, uh, what is there? So ultimately, that is that a bull flag, Because a bull flag, like that, yeah, might be like that. Or has Bitcoin matured as an asset? Has Bitcoin matured as an asset? And is this the distribution phase overall? The cycle, is this the all-time cycle? These are thoughts that people are thinking at that. Is this the all-time high? There is definitely scope within this pattern for it to come up again, and there's to come up certainly to that resistance point, maybe making a higher high. You know, from that 30K mark, it's 100%. Yeah. So there's one way. There's a bullish thing. It might come down, but in the meantime, in this intermediate time, it still could come down there. It could come down to there, it can come down to there. It can come down maybe about sort of 30ish, 32. It can come down, test around there in the no less than 35, 35%, 35K. Will it come down to a 30? Will it come down lower? Will it come down to the 2026? Because there's no support here. There's no previous support. See how strong that support is? All those touches along there. Touch, 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 touch. All makes that a strong case for support. And then we need some more touches on these patterns. What pattern are we going to get? Is it going to be there? Will it fall through? Another final shakeout. Adhere to this like nice upward channel, bit of a bull flag for ready for continuational movement. And with that continuational movement, it has the potential to come up, reach that, aspire to reaching the there. You see, sort of between 70, 80, 90, 100%. Yeah. And if it breaks out to the upside over the coming year, which is how long that would take to get up, maybe over the coming year, it might do that. But people are uncertain because all those downward pressures caused by factors from outside of the Bitcoin market. Less money to spend on risky assets. That's literally what it is. And if it comes down to there, happy days. Broadening wedge pattern. They form different patterns. I'll be happy if it came down to reach and test that thin dotted line there, that thin dotted line highlighted. Came down to there, shape breaks out of this pattern and comes down. And you're going to lose it for a bit before going up. So right now, in an accumulation phase, market cycle, people are cautious, they're steady, they're hoping, but they're looking at it, they're buying in. As it goes up, the euphoria increases. Latecomers come in and they're absolutely pinging it. They're absolutely euphoric and they think it's just going to get higher and higher. Wise hands, wise minds know once that starts curving off, they're going to start looking at selling off, take profit, come down, accumulation phase. Now, where we are at the moment, if we've sold off, come down, redistribution from there, it's like possibly maybe from this period, possibly maybe might go up. Let's buy in. They've bought in too high and they're going to have to sell low. They've been stung, they've been hurt. And as it goes down, the fear factor comes in, the fear, uncertainty, doubt, and then absolute anger, frustration, and then despair. And that's where we are now. We're in the despair phase. So what you're hearing on the markets is lots and lots of despair. This is the despair phase. Oh, it's never going to go up again, is it? That's what they're saying. And that's interesting, actually. Let's have a look at that. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. So we're absolutely in the fear and despair phase because these can reflect market psychology. And if you can get that up, understand that, you can understand quite a bit. So it can go up, can go down, and it's weighted. It's just in effect, technically, excluding all that Russia bollocks. Look, it's there and there, either side of a full market cycle. We are in an accumulation phase, waiting for it to go up. Yeah, just waiting for it to come up, test that resistance, and make a breakout of what is broadly could be an ascending triangle. So if we get high, yeah, another comes up, breaks through a little bit, pokes up, and then continues along. About 2/3 of the way along there, we'll be looking for a breakout. Maybe if it does continue up, get some tests across the top there, some highs, slightly higher highs from the previous one, matching up at about 46K, and that's a serious resistance line along there, the 46K line. Once it breaks, maybe looking in May, a couple of months away, maybe 3 or 4 months away, looking to get a breakout on the upside, and that upside potentially is pretty decent, yeah? It's pretty fucking decent, pardon my French. So probably maybe, it might be looking at something like getting up to, back up to 60K again, which would be good, and that takes it in line with there. And that's where you're probably going to see another consolidation phase if it does go. If it does come down, want to be testing these areas there. 30K is like the lowest, and then maybe looking at something like this, yeah, in that sort of 34-ish area, yeah. Um, and that is just natural retesting, developing, finding out where those support levels are. The market will decide that for you. And it's just trading up. Always buy low and sell high, take profit or add to. But there's loads of stuff, but that's why. Less money available in the world. Money's being squeezed ever increasingly because of all the different rates, the interest rates, inflation, the cost of living, the cost of uh, doing business, all getting a squeeze. And so that's what causes, that increase in the uncertainty of that. Much more bullish over here, there's much more euphoria going